Today we are going to be talking about something that's on the top of everyone's mind, which is 3 ways to get more inventory with trade-in leads and increase website engagement. And we know that 2 things that obviously is very important in today's marketplace. So my name is Joe Dallas. I'm the Chief Business Officer over here at Trade Pending. So what's in store for today? Topics to discuss: 3 strategies for sourcing inventory with trade-in leads. We know that we'll get into it a little bit more about how important inventory is today and frankly how difficult it is, and then also how our Snap tool, our trade-in tool, can assist in those efforts. And then also website engagement. How do you get people to stay on your site longer, get them to come back more often, and make them stickier on your website? And then how superlatives will help with that as well. So let's get into the 3 strategies for sourcing inventory with trade-in leads. And let's roll back the clock a little bit here, pre-pandemic. Okay, so March comes along, the pandemic really hits. Immediately, everyone rushes out to get a digital retailing tool. The OEMs kind of start helping with that, with maybe some co-op funds and some different strategies around that. Then you have the factories giving out crazy incentives while concurrently also being shut down and not producing more inventory. So you have those factors at play, and then you have people getting essentially free money from the government. So a perfect storm was kind of created back in the spring for inventory scarcity. And so over the past few months, we've tracked, right around the time the pandemic hit, a sharp decline in vehicle pricing relative to the market. And then conversely, a really sharp uptick in vehicle pricing across the marketplace as demand grew and the supply shrank. So the reality is today that dealers are just plain old hungry for inventory anywhere they can find it, and vehicle acquisition is as difficult as ever. The auctions have been extremely, they've been a total mess in person, trying to go virtual. And even then, auction pricing is through the roof. So with all these challenges, everyone's turning their attention to used cars, trade-in leads. So how are you going to stand out in this kind of marketplace? So let's talk about trade-in leads. How do you get more of them? How do you get more consumers through the door? And how do you get their vehicles in your inventory? Well, we see here on the slide, landing page campaigns can be a huge win for the dealership. And by definition, a landing page is where you drive traffic to. You land people on that page. And so do you have specific trade-in language campaign pages that you're driving not just any old traffic to, but relevant traffic to these specific pages? We have a couple of great examples here. Trade in, trade up. Well, how? What's your messaging going to be? Well, it can be really simple. You can look back, say 2 years at your customer database, pull out some few hundred customers that have been in their car for a couple of years, and just send them a plain text email from the general manager saying, hey, this summer I've got some really aggressive inventory goals. I might be interested in buying your car back. Click here to find out what your car is worth today and which I might be willing to pay for it. And then boom, hit them on a landing page that's high converting with our trade tool. And we've seen that kind of messaging be astoundingly effective in acquiring vehicles, but also just conversions through the roof because of the relevancy of the audience itself. What about your service lane? Are you messaging to service customers about about the value of their vehicle? Obviously, every time you bring a car into service, you might be thinking like, this thing's aging on me. What's it worth? I might want to get into something else. And are we being proactive about every opportunity that we have to do that? So let's move on to the second thing, which is our Facebook integration. We know that today dealers are using their Facebook business page as sort of the social hub of their dealership. Host inventory. We see dealers really adopting a strong Facebook messaging strategy. And so why not use our tool on your Facebook business page? It's just another a place, a touch point where maybe there's an audience that isn't coming to your website that maybe you could get an opportunity for vehicle acquisition there. The only caveat around this is that there are qualifications for these business page implementations. You have to have a minimum of 2,000 likes on your Facebook business page in order to qualify for this kind of customization. That's Facebook rules, not ours. And so just another thing maybe to put on the roadmap to increase the opportunity that you have. And then finally, we have the updates to Google My Business page, which right around the first of the year last year, Google added a product section for Google My Business that allows for some customization. And that customization allows for us to drop a button that simply says, hey, value my trade, a simple trade CTA on this page. And you might think, well, what's that really going to do? Well, because of how much traffic today is in mobile and how prominent these products are placed in mobile, it's going to do a lot. And we'll look at one example with Wise Auto Group on the next page, where we see that of their trade-in opportunities, that Google My Business integration accounted for almost 15% last month of their trade-in leads, just from free advertising, just from placing that slug on the Google My Business page as a product. So incredibly powerful, three incredibly powerful and more than less, free. Maybe there's some time investment here, but here's just 3 free things that you can do that will absolutely boost the opportunities you have to acquire inventory in today's marketplace. So how do Snap and Superlatives, which Snap we just kind of talked about some ways that you can leverage that to get more inventory. Later on, we'll talk about the results that we have from Superlatives, but how does our product suite really meet the demands of today's marketplace? Well, we went out a couple of years ago and did this consumer insight survey, and all we did was ask a real simple question, which of a consumer, when you're going to a dealer's website, what exactly are you looking to do? And over the years, we've updated this. And we've seen a striking amount of consistency in this, which is the number one reason people are on your website. They want to research new and used inventory. The number 2 reason is that they want to value their trade. So enter Snap and Superlatives. And then, moving on to the next slide, we have, this kind of communication divide that happens between dealer and consumer where a dealer has all this specific knowledge. You guys have been in it for years. You know what's going on in the marketplace. You know why you step up on a car. Specifically about a VIN, what makes it special. And you have a tremendous amount of expertise about all the nuances that it takes to put a car deal together. And in today's landscape, consumers are just hungry for information. We live in the information gathering age. Our ability to do research today is unprecedented compared to 10, 15 years ago. And so what we want to do with our product is just to be able to bridge that communication gap between consumer and dealer. So let's look at first how Snap does that. Yeah, so here our trade pending market report really gives an insight into the marketplace. So really easy front-end user experience. And then you really have the question of, okay, how do you define value? Well, it's supply on the left and it's demand on the right. It's how many of them are there, how fast are they moving. Every one of those data points there in that regression line is a vehicle for sale or recently sold in the marketplace. And what you see is, think of it like a comp data, right? It's the Zillow Zestimate approach. You've zoomed out and you're looking at the neighborhood view on what this vehicle is worth in the marketplace. And then if you look down at the reduction variable table below, we see, ultimately we're now saying to the consumer, hey, we're not trade pending, we're not experts in valuation. We're saying here is the list price range for this vehicle. They're worth about this much to this much in the marketplace. And here's everything that we have to do as a dealer in order to remarket that vehicle. First of all, we'll concede most don't sell for list price, but it still has to be reconditioned. It's a potentially CPO-able product for our lot. And we got to take into account advertising, overhead, and, nobody's making a Christmas bonus off of you this year, but, we do have to profit a measly profit for some dealers to stay in business. And the beauty of all this is that every single one of these data points is totally customizable by the dealership. They're also intelligent, so reconditioning, CPO fees, those adjust based on the consumer search. So if it's not a potentially CPOable product on a Toyota site, well, that CPO fee is a non-factor. And even in the way that the range itself displays can be updated. So you'll notice that several of these points fall outside the trend line. Now you might say to us, hey, trade pending, I want to get a little bit bigger lower end, but I also want to be more enticing on the top end. Well, that range is an expression of a percentage of average. So let's say that all these dots average out to 10 grand. By default, we're -8 to +2% of that average. So at $10,000, that would be 9,200 to 10,200 would be your spread. Now you might say to me, hey, let's grab some of these little dots here and we go -12% to +2%. And now your average will be 8,800 to 10.2. So ultimately, not a lot of our dealers really ever make adjustments. We get pretty darn close on accuracy with that according to the marketplace. But if you have a different business strategy around pricing on trades, we can certainly turn the knobs in real time to meet those needs. So now, ultimately, at the end of the day, this is an opportunity tool, creates leads, and we do it extraordinarily well. So if we go over into our own app dashboard, we can take a look at that. Now we have Hendrick Toyota North Charleston, and let's just go over to the month view and look at the month of June. In the last full month in June, we provided Toyota North Charleston an astounding 163 trade-in opportunities. And two things that are really important to us here to kind of get back to what our mission was, which is to bring dealer and consumer together. A tremendous amount of people convert on the form on this site. So they're starting the process and they're finishing it. And then secondly, we're meeting the demands of the modern shopper. 60% of the leads that came in through this dealership came in off a mobile device, which is in pretty close proximity to the amount of mobile traffic that there is today. And we've seen that go up over the years. And frankly, even on this site, this is a little bit below average from what we're seeing today for mobile conversion. So tremendous amount of flexibility in the tool. It just naturally will give you a lift in trade opportunities. And we've seen dealer adoption go up over the years, and especially an incredible emphasis here recently with the changing marketplace and every trade opportunity just being treated like gold. So, this is how we can integrate, by using some of those strategies, by landing consumers on our tool already converts extremely high. But if you throw a really great audience to a really great page, or if you hook up that Google My Business integration, we can really juice more inventory opportunities for you for very little cost. So if you're a common customer on the call today, please reach out and we can help kind of orchestrate some of those things and give you some insight into how to best do so at your dealer. So hopefully with Snap, we've done a really good job of fueling those opportunities. But let's talk about superlatives. We've hopefully done a really good job of fueling those vehicle acquisition opportunities. And we think back to the Consumer Insights survey, where the #1 reason consumers are on your site is to do research. And so much effort is done in the real world at your dealership. When you get a car, you go out, you go through all this effort to recondition it. You put signs on it that say low miles, you get balloons. You make sure it smells good. You want consumers to feel good when they're on a test drive. Well, what about online? What's the marketing strategy for your used inventory or inventory at all once you have it? You spend money driving traffic to your website, you do all this investment, but the problem is that historically websites, frankly, have done sort of a poor deal and have hamstrung dealers and their ability to do any kind of creative merchandising around their acquisition of their inventory. Websites have a homepage, a VDP, and SRP. You get somebody on the lot to go out and take photos of it. The used car manager puts together a little description of text, and then you put it online. And here's a picture and a price, and there's really no contextual research available. And what that's caused really is consumers down this path of doing pricing only research, and it's put dealers in a position where sometimes the only conversation that they have an opportunity to have is based solely on price. So what we're looking at here is basically our data set, and what we saw in our data set was just crazy stuff. In the 900 million or so data points that we look at every day to derive vehicle values for Snap, we saw a totally different story being told when it came to how nuances affect a vehicle's velocity. The trim level, the color, the drivetrain, within the context of a zip code, can have a huge impact on a vehicle's lifespan and its attractiveness on your lot. So we took all that complexity and data science and kind of boiled it down here to these very simple to digest visuals that we call superlatives. So just imagine for a moment that, somebody calls in and says, hey, Mr. Dealer, on this Prius here, what's the best price you can give me that? And now we're kind of teed up a little bit different conversation. So if we click on the superlative, it's, hey, Mr. Consumer, frankly, this is a market favorite, right? That first one there on the page, the reality is that this vehicle probably isn't going to be on the lot very long. Its average days on lot's 21. It's already 16 days in. You better not wait till the weekend to come see me. And then oftentimes we'll have other badges that are superlatives that it qualifies for. So you might be able to talk about more than that, just like how it has great fuel economy and how it's positioned in the marketplace with maybe some remaining warranties. So ultimately, we want to create value. It's all the things that you knew as a used car manager, as a dealer, about this vehicle that made it special. And then we're just leaving little space to have those pricing related conversations. Now, there are times that we do talk about price. We don't do it in a vacuum. We do it hyper contextually. We do it within the zip code. And oftentimes that might be the thing to talk about on the vehicle. So we look over here, we see a verified stellar deal. What does that mean? Well, even when we click and talk about pricing, we're doing it in a way that puts you in the driver's seat as the dealer. Now you can say, hey, Mr. Consumer, hey, this is not only the best deal, not just nationally, this is the best deal within a 25-mile radius. We're 80% better than any other car. And if we click the more badges down, we see all the other reasons that we can create value and build urgency in this vehicle. So an incredibly powerful tool that allows for a tremendous amount of good, not only just a good experience online, but for you, the dealer, now you can say, hey, this car is in high demand. It's a popular trim. I really don't have a reason to, one, get beat up on price, but also, hey, this sounds like it might be the car for you. When can you come down and take a look at it? So we also have built in a couple of other things. So if we go to Hebert's Town and Country, who is one of our really good first superlatives beta customers, at Hebert's, they really needed a way to customize their messaging for some specific Hebert's Town and Country Chrysler initiatives. And what we saw was utilization on there being used to do cool things like talk about in-home delivery or specific things around financial terms that are being offered for Jeep certified vehicles. So we just hit that And then in the pandemic, obviously they wanted to be able to talk about how you can shop for these cars at home. So we just scroll down a little bit there on that first page. We see a couple of different things: certified pre-owned, shop at home. These are totally things that are managed by Hebert's Town and Country. Now, as a superlative administrator, you're also being put in the driver's seat where maybe some vehicles don't have a superlative. Maybe you want to apply a custom superlative or change the order, and now we're giving you the ability to merchandise something that's really specific that helps you stand out as you're a consumer shopping for used inventory. So very, very powerful tool to use. So this is a really abbreviated kind of look at superlatives. There's a ton more to some of the logic and the complexities of it, and the ability it gives you to do some custom messaging and merchandising. Now let's talk about results, right? Obviously, this is inherently something that helps you hold gross on vehicles. It helps you, explain more of the why to a consumer, give them something to care about besides price. But we've been doing some tracking in GA about what happens when a consumer clicks on a superlative. What kind of audience is that? So let's look at some stats on how superlatives can help increase engagement on your website. So first thing we saw was that superlatives clickers are a much higher value audience and shopper on your website. In this first example of a dealer, and this is pretty consistent across our dealer base, is that people who click on superlatives are 300% more. They visit the website 334% more often and are 3 times likely to return. What if I told you that there was something in your dealership that could get somebody 3 times more likely to come back? That's pretty powerful. They view 55% more pages on the site and spend 144% more time on the site. Let's look at another example. Dealer number 2 here. This is actual data pulled out of GA. That 358% more often, 3.5 times more likely to return, 33% more pages, and spend 125% more time on their site. So not only does superlatives give you, talking points to use in the store, not only does it communicate value, it also has huge implications for website engagement, for keeping people on your site 9 minutes instead of 4 minutes, and ultimately making those people more sticky, more informed, and hopefully teeing you up for much better conversations in the dealer. So superlatives is proving to be just a total, a huge deal in the marketplace, especially in today's marketplace where every vehicle in your inventory is gold. So the really good news for you guys on the next slide is that now's as good a time as it's ever been. We did another consumer survey recently, and we just asked consumers, hey, when shopping for a car, I would visit the following websites, and your local dealership is twice as relevant as any other third-party site out there today. You're really in the driver's seat, and now is the time to, 1, try to increase your website engagement, and 2, just milk every opportunity that possibly could be had with your website, your brand, and the power that gives you as a dealer. So if I'm you, I'm asking, hey, how do I sign up for this? That's a great question. Well, for those who have listened in today, we do have a webinar special. Snap being at $4.99, Superlatives $4.99, both a month. No setup fees, very easy month-to-month contract. And we'll do a buy one, get one special for $7.49 if you do both products. And just for those on today, we'll do a 30-day delayed billing. And it's totally automated. Just send it over email, click, and we can get you guys up and running with these 2 tools. All right, well guys, thanks for coming on. We're gonna wrap up a minute early today. We really appreciate everyone's participation and coming, and we hope that some of these strategies we discussed today help in your endeavors as well. So feel free to reach out to me, Joe Dallas at Trade Pending. My email address is joe@tradepending.com, and we will be in touch soon. Thanks.